We've long established that electric vehicles need not to be boring, but they are sometimes not boring but pretty expensive. What if I tell you that there's a vehicle, an electric vehicle, that is not boring, incredibly fast, yet still affordable? This car right beside me is the 2025 MG4 X-powered 435 horsepower, all for about 2 million pesos. And in this video, let's see just how fun and also practical this vehicle is. From the exterior, the MG4 X-Power looks pretty similar to a bog standard MG4, the one with a lot less power than this one. However, the color right here immediately will tell you that it is an X-Power because it is covered in this matte hunter green. You still have the same nice LED lighting, you still have these like lights by the bottom too where signal lights are, and on the side of the vehicle you'll notice, of course, their dimensions are exactly the same, right? However, the biggest change right here is when you look at your 18-inch rims. Right behind them are a set of massive brake discs and that orange painted brake caliper, also with the X-Power written on there. Aside from that, honestly, the design of this vehicle, it's pretty, how do you say this? It's pretty conventional. MG didn't really go like out of their way to make this really stand out. There are some like nice lines here and there, and I also like how there's like some of these piano black by the bottom, but aside from that, this is pretty unassuming, so one wouldn't really know that you have over 400 horsepower under the hood. While the front and the side of the MG4 X-Power looks kind of like a sleeper, you can't really tell it's fast, here at the back you can somehow. If you take a look at the top portion right here, you have a very nice jet fighter-like designed spoiler. What I love about hatchbacks too is you have a rear wiper, and you also have this like light bar looking thing by the tailgate. It's also worth noting that the MG logo is under like a piece of plastic, so yeah, it just looks slightly different. Down below, of course, there are no exhaust pipes right here because it is fully electric, and once you open up this tailgate, honestly, the space right here, it is not exactly huge, and that's because this car has a dual motor setup giving you all-wheel drive, so it does take up some of the space here at the back. Nonetheless, if you do remove this like parcel cover right here, you can store some luggage in here still, and if you need to carry a little bit more, you can also fold down those rear seats 60/40. And of course, the best part about the MG4 X-Power is what is under the hood. So what you have here is a 64 kilowatt hour battery mated to a double electric motor, one in front, one in the rear, giving you all-wheel drive, making 435 horsepower and 600 Newton meters of torque. And you can also go from 0 to 100 in only 3.8 seconds. Best of all this, MG also claims that despite this crazy amount of power and torque, you can still go around 400 kilometers on a single charge. But based on our test, you can actually return around 377 kilometers, which again is still not bad. Now let's proceed to the charging port of this one. So what do you need to charge as well? It's the pretty basic Type 2 AC connector, and if you want to go fast charging, there's also the CCS2 DC connector right here. Now, when you step inside the MG4 X-Power, the first thing you have to take note of is the step sill. It's a little bit high because of, well, where the batteries are positioned in this vehicle. But once you're inside, now we check the door. And honestly, that sounds incredibly good. I know this is more like a global brand now, and it is kind of like British and both Chinese, but it really does sound very European, which is a good thing. So the biggest downside of the MG4 would be the interior, because as you can see right here and feel, they're pretty crispy, not so great materials inside. But you know what else is fast and has materials this bad? Really expensive supercars. Yeah, so in that regard, this is on theme. Anyway, so you do have a leather wrap steering wheel right here with buttons for advanced driver assistance system functions, and there's even like these like joysticks on either side. So these joysticks actually function pretty well because you can configure them so that they can control a lot of the things that you would otherwise have to go inside your infotainment screen to control, such as your AC controls. So that's pretty neat, which is always a good thing because, you know, nowadays what manufacturers do is cram everything in the infotainment and give you no other choice but to control it from there, which is pretty distracting while you're driving, right? But for this one, yes, these joypads, they work wonders. You have a digital instrument cluster right here, which is pretty easy to read. It's very simple. And by the center is the aforementioned 10.25-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay, wired Android Auto, and a reverse camera that has the quality and angle of a potato. If you are old enough to remember YouTube in 144p and 240p or 360p, basically blind mode, yes, that is what you get right here, including the 360-degree top-down view camera. You do also get the wireless charging pad by the center, but my issue with it is because it's not deep enough. Given the 0 to 100 time of this car of 3.8 seconds, your phone just gets catapulted from the center wireless charging pad and into elsewhere inside the interior. So yeah, I just wish that MG made that a little bit deeper. You have a rotary electronic shifter, an electronic parking brake, some standard cubby spaces here by the center, 2 cup holders, USB ports, and for the seats, they're pretty nice actually. The bolsters are pretty good. You do have like suede by the middle and like leatherette by the sides. Power adjustable only for the driver's side though. Finally, one interesting thing about the MG4 XPower is it doesn't come with an engine stop start button. So there's actually 2 ways to like go about this. First of all, when you enter the vehicle and you sit on the driver's seat, there's a pressure sensor right there which activates the entire system. Step on the brake and you're ready to go. If you're gonna exit the vehicle, you can either simply lock your vehicle and the vehicle will just turn off, or alternatively, if you have the car in park, you can just go inside the settings of this infotainment screen, go to safety and click power off, and the car shuts down just like that. Alright, now for the rear seats, we also check the door first. And it sounds amazing, honestly. So back here, the first thing you'll notice is just how dark it is for 2 reasons. Number 1, you don't have any sort of dome light on the top. And number 2, you do get privacy glasses standard. So yes, this is great actually for the passengers at the back. But it can get a little bit claustrophobic feeling in here for some people. Again, probably because of the darkness in here. But nonetheless, space is good in terms of legroom. I have so much legroom. In terms of headroom, because it isn't like a sedan with a sloping roof line, it is pretty good too. And you get map pockets and even smaller like cell phone and miscellaneous pockets here by the top. There's even a USB port back here. Unfortunately, you do not get rear air vents, but don't worry, the car is pretty small. So the front vents, the fans, they do reach up to here, and it gets still pretty chilly here at the back. Now, one thing I'm not a big fan of, again, would be the fact that although MG did give you a center headrest, which means that you can seat 3 people back here, theoretically, the car is a little bit narrow. So you shouldn't really be seating 3 adults here for longer journeys. Maybe short journeys, that's perfectly fine. However, one more thing is, speaking of the center seat, it doesn't fold down as an armrest. So yeah, I just wish they added that. I doubt that's going to be pretty expensive to do. Alright, so now we drive the MG4 XPower, and this vehicle, despite having 435 horsepower, is honestly pretty good and comfortable to drive. As long as you put this in the eco or the normal mode, it's not jerky at all. This is something that you can drive comfortably. This is something that you can drive every day. And when it comes to the noise, vibration, and harshness inside too, it's surprisingly good. I was expecting that since the interior isn't exactly the most refined, that the ride would also be garbage, right? But it's not. It actually soaks up bumps relatively well for a compact hatchback. And when it comes to vibrations, you don't really feel any of it since, you know, it is electric. And finally, for harshness, it's pretty good. Sorry, for noise, it's also pretty good. You could be traveling at extra legal speeds in here and it still is quiet. Wind noise is well subdued. The car's aerodynamic properties I think are pretty decent. And when it comes to the tire noise too, it's also surprisingly good. Now do note though that this car rides on a set of Turanza tires, but I do reckon that you better upgrade to a set of Potenzas or Mission Pilot Sport 4s or 4S if you want to take advantage of all the torque that this car will offer you. And speaking of that torque, we shall be doing it now, putting this car in sport mode and just flooring it. And 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds, and it is instant. Yes, all that instant torque hits you immediately. You're gonna have so much things flying around in this car. Remember not to put the phone on that wireless charging pad, else that will become a projectile. Now, having a dual motor setup right here is incredibly important because there's almost no way of putting 600 Newton meters of torque instantly down on just 2 wheels. So since it is now split between the front and the rear, yay traction. But again, you might want to upgrade your tires a little bit because these Turanzas, frankly, if the road's just slightly wet, it can't handle it. Now, that aside, this vehicle is not only about straight line performance. It honestly handles pretty well too. Corners are taken okay with minimal roll, and you'd really feel this with electric vehicles with the batteries by the bottom of the vehicle. It has a very low center of gravity, so it does help out a lot when it comes to handling. However, where the MG4 does lack is the steering, because while it is weighted enough for daily driving, if you do want to drive this vehicle fast, I do find that the steering wheel weight is a little bit too light, and also there's not much feedback to it when you are cornering this fast. The MG4 XPower may not be the most refined when it comes to the interior materials, but at 2,888,000 pesos, this vehicle represents great value. You get the vehicle that looks like a sleeper, is sleek enough in some aspects of it, and gives you 435 horsepower plus great amounts of range. It makes for a very fun car to drive on the weekends, but also a very practical vehicle for daily driving. So if you're looking for a very fun, affordable enough electric vehicle that will definitely make you smile but also make the practical side of you happy, then the MG4 XPower is truly an EV to consider.